It's been a while. Year end is here. It's the beginning of 2026. There's so much going on. I know for myself, a lot of things have changed. I moved and I did one live while I was away. I showed you where I was in Miami. And, this trip was really, really different for me because it was the first time I was away. I think it was good. It was a good 2 years. And I'll be honest with you, like not until like the end of the trip did I feel like I was like back to myself. And it just showed me even more so, like, even though sometimes you know things and we don't do them and implement them, how important it is to be away and to take that time off. It was like a mother-daughter trip, so it ended up being so it was really, really nice. And I'll be honest with you, like it was a really like it was a really a trip full of like my well-being, and I'll explain. So there's this beautiful hotel I stayed in, and I was going there for different reasons in the past. Like I found this random hairdresser that I love, and because the hotel had all of these things, I was like, how cool would it be to stay there? And then, like anything, when I saw the price, I was like, no way is this possible. Like, am I doing this? And when you set your mind to things, somehow like you change the dates or whatever, you save for things, and then you're like, oh, it is possible. And they had yoga every day at 8 o'clock, which was nice because it was on the beach. And I've done yoga on the beach before, but it was different. Like it was nice doing it like in a class live, eating breakfast. And I say eating breakfast like eating breakfast, not like scarfing down the food or like really, really swallowing the food. It was really like chewing my food and like enjoying it with my daughter, speaking to people and, of that nature, getting some things done. While I'm away, and I'll share this too, I usually keep some type of still basis of work in my day. And I account this to be as, as a single mom, right? Where I keep my income close to home. So I always do my income generating activities every day. And I do that so that life keeps going for me. And because at this point I have a team, there's a lot that happens for me that I don't have to do, but while still staying intact. And I'll be honest with you, when I landed and then different points of the trip, some decisions that I was trying to make, they just happened for me, which was really, really nice. And, now I came back and I put them into play. And when I was sitting at home with them, they were actually feeling heavier and more stressful. And in Hebrew, they say shane makom shane mazal, which means like you change your place, you change your luck. And it's not that I was having bad luck before. It was more of like clearing things out. And a lot of you that meditate, maybe you've heard this before, where it's like make space for the new, make space for for what you're bringing in. There's a lot of truth to it. Like if you're clogged, if you're tired or full of pain, you're not exercising, not eating healthy, drinking water, and all of these things, it matters. While I was away, believe it or not, I was drinking like way less water, and it made a difference. Like I was draggy and like eh like that energy. So anyways, so enough of that. I'm going to share from today's slides of today's topic, um, and I'm really, really excited to talk about this. I was actually on a situation right before this call around this topic, and I'll probably break it up and explain this more. So if you're out there thinking about a vacation, you're wanting to, or it's kind of like, you think your financial position is not good enough yet, or like bills are like still overwhelming and what nature, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to just get healthy. And, you can do a lot with a moderate budget. And even though this time I did splurge a bit more than usual on the hotel, um, I don't know, a bit more, but it was a good amount of more, I'll be honest. Um, I made it back in other ways of different things. And I say this to say, it's not only giving you the permission to do these things, it's making new goals and heights that are bigger than you. And it's just really, really cool to see. And, once I learned how to do that, and now I help our clients do that, it's so different because I would make my goals, but also at the same time, I was like, oh, goals are easy because I'm making them, but I was making them because they weren't big enough. When you make big enough goals, it's like the lightning bolt and volume around things, like to have like 10, 12, 8, 12, 15, 20 onto of different things at the same time. It's just really, really awesome. So let me ask you a question. When does helping start hurting your business? Most therapists were trained to prioritize others, minimize their own needs, kind of like what we do as moms, right? Or as parents for our kids, and avoid selfish decisions. Ever think of that? Oh, I can't do that because I'm a mother and I put my kids first. Or I can't do that because I need to pay this one first. I need that one first. But we never really put ourselves first. But running a practice requires a different identity. And I'll tell you, even over my own trip this time, I was actually looking at my notes of my identity when I did this on the trip. I actually did it on the beach near the water. And I look at it here and I'm like, whoa, like, how am I going to do that? But I was happy that I did that because I saw myself in a different light. So when you think of yourself with that different identity, a lot of these things start to shift. So what's the identity gap? Clinician made focus, care, relief, responses. But if we think like a CEO, sustainability, structure, strategic decisions. When you have structure, when you have sustainability, when you have strategic decisions, what happens is it's, I'm going to keep talking about this trip because it was really a perfect example of having this all in place. I was able to do things while other things were still happening because I had structure. The business is sustained, and there's decisions that are happening where it's not clashing with each other. It's happening all together where everything is starting to complement. So you can't scale a business from a helper mode alone. So why does this matter? Does it matter? When therapists stay in clinician mode, they delay hard decisions. They underpay themselves. They overgive time and energy. They avoid numbers until it's urgent. This isn't a mindset flaw, it's an identity mismatch. Because who you think you are is not really what's happening, or who your default being is what's actually happening. You're not programming your mind around, okay, it's a hard decisions. I got this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to underpay myself. No, dang it, way. I got to support my family. I'm the steer of the boat of this ship, right? So it's all how you tell yourself your mind without needing permission. Okay? I can't say that enough. It's without needing permission from someone to do these things. So stop overgiving your time and energy. Last year I realized a huge place that I was overgiving my time, which then leaks into my energy. And when I realized that, because I do my own audit every so often on things. And I also realized lately my audit of my time and my energy, it was more important in my personal life than business. And we start to think like, oh, business is the only place that has to be structured. But how you do one thing is how you do another. Here's the common questions that I get all the time. Why do I feel guilty paying myself more than my team? Hello, it's your business. You took that step. And who's to say that over time that it can't grow and be the same or if not more, and benefits in different things? Why am I still the last one paid even though I run everything? Why do businesses' decision feel cold or wrong to me? It's just because they feel different, and it's because you're being taken out of your norm. How do I stop making money choices based on guilt or fear? When do I stop thinking like a therapist and start thinking like a CEO? How true is that? How many times you don't act like you're the role, you act of the position that you took of owning the business. Okay. I want to go back to number four. How do I stop making money choices based on guilt or fear? It took me a long time to understand this about myself. Now, let's go back to income generating activities. Are you worried about money all the time? You're only worried about money all the time if you're not making enough. And chances are you're not making enough because you're not doing the actions around it. And when you're an entrepreneur, you have to look for jobs every day. You have to look for more work. Could be you're booked, but it could be that you get a lot of cancellations. So it's what's the awareness and what's really happening with that. So if you're making decisions every day to keep clients because you're fearful, it goes back into I'm not looking for new work. Like it's not working on the opportunities coming in. When helping becomes harmful. Helping becomes harmful when you absorb all the risk. I did that for so long. And what does that mean? It's holding people less accountable for what they're supposed to be doing. And you're like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. Let them worry about it. You protect everyone else from discomfort, right? And that's kind of like massaging the wrong. You avoid structure to stay liked. You don't like it when like you're at a difference with someone. You carry the entire financial weight. Oh, I do that. Did that. And it's a thing that I constantly have to catch myself on. That's not leadership, that's survival mode. When you're in survival mode, you take everything on you. You don't want help and you start to think you're doing everything better. When CEO thinking comes in, money from emotional to strategic. So you think basically it's as simple as that. How is your money coming in? Let's do more of that. How is it coming in? Let's do more of that. Taxes from scary to planned. It's only scary because you're not working on it. But if you would work on it, it's not going to be scary. You're going to be able to plan it. And then you're like, I don't know how, the people are expensive and all of these things. Get out of your head with all of the excuses. And if it's important to you, you're going to plan it. You're going to do it. If you're sick and tired of paying a tax bill that you don't think and that you really shouldn't be, start to plan and develop the mindset around that. Meet yourself where you're at. Right before this, I had a close friend of mine where they don't have a will for the family and the father is about to pass. And they owe about $200,000 on taxes. And I said to him, that 200,000, it's the biggest beast that you can't get rid of. But not only is it the biggest beast that you can't get rid of, chances are they could freeze your assets too. So when you don't know the systems within the systems and really get more acclimated, you're really at a frenzy and you're really as a victim. Decisions come from reactive to intentional. You make decisions from an awareness and a grounded place. You pay from leftovers to priority. How you pay your bills, right, is what happens. Now, I'll tell you something. For me, the way I set up my bills is all around priority. The second I don't see something, there's nothing that gets paid from leftovers. Actually, my little bit of shopping sprees sometimes can happen, but even those don't happen as much anymore. So this is where safety and leadership meet. And it's kind of like a little bit of both. So let's say you're in an emotional state and you have something around money. It may not be the best time. Or sometimes when you're upset and you do a little bit, but like $50 versus like 5,000 or 500, depending on what it is a big difference. Real life example, a practice owner running payroll, managing staff, and carrying the business, but paying herself the last every month. Not because she couldn't, but because CEO identity felt uncomfortable. So because this person is feeling uncomfortable all this time, what's happening is that it's delayed, 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 delay. So then your bills are delayed, delayed, delayed. And then there's late fees, delayed, delayed, delay, which then hits into your credit. And then anything else that is a result of delaying decisions. So what support really looks like? CEO support isn't just numbers. It's having someone who helps you hold responsibility without burnout, make decisions without guilt, and build structure that supports you too. I always tell my business owners when we work together, this is for you. I was having an exchange with a client, and this exchange actually keeps going on. And he was like, "What do you need to pay this invoice for me?" And I'm like, what if we need to pay this invoice for you and the business? It's not for me having an invoice and having a tax ID number. It's for him and the business. It's not for me. It's me just helping him hold accountable. So think how these things are different when the structure, right? So like that is that I'm holding him accountable for a structure that supports him. It really doesn't support me too. But that's what support really looks like. And even myself, I use my team for supports of this nature. So I invite you to step into CEO mode, protect your energy, and lead your practice with intention. And if this still seems scary to you a little bit, I invite you to listen to this from head to toe a few times. And if it's something you were dabbling on or thinking about, I invite you to book a call and let's talk further. And if you're seeing this replay, I invite you below. Tell me that you listened. And also let me know what you take from this. What would you add? What would you change? What did you dislike from today? And I also say this to say is that this content is made for you and we'd love to hear from you. So I hope you can let me know what works, what doesn't work, and what your next steps are. And when you lead from intention instead of from scarcity or from lack or from fear, like we talked about, it's a whole nother place to run business and to work from in life. So as always, I hope you enjoyed this. As always, any questions, let me know. You all are invited to these hangouts. You can come into Zoom and we can talk about things. And I look forward to talking to you more. Talk soon.